Hey everyone, um, welcome to uh, Odyssey's weekly stream, Friday stream. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than usual. We're actually not going to be gaming. This is going to be more of a production and mixing stream. So if those things are of interest to you, hopefully this will be cool. And if not, we'll resume our gaming streams on Wednesday. So Wednesday from now on, generally, we might have some, we might do some things a little different depending on what's going on every week. But generally, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific are going to be gaming streams. And we'll talk about all sorts of stuff. It doesn't, it's not just limited to talking about games, but it will be gaming content in terms of what's visually presented. And then Fridays are going to be, and this is by request of folks who are on the stream. And if you haven't been on the stream before, welcome. This one's going to be about production and mixing. And then Fridays going forward will generally be about production and mixing. We'll cover a lot of different topics. We'll cover how to produce and mix, tips, tricks, things that I've learned working in film, in video game music, in mainstream music, in mixing and mastering and producing. We'll do some composing. We'll do some music writing. We'll do some playing. We'll do some all that kind of stuff. And if you guys have specific things that you want to hear or see, please let me know. Happy to cover all of that. So, on that note, we're going to get started. So, for those of you who are not familiar, let me see. Here we go. We've partnered with Ken Lewis, who is a well-known mix engineer. Worked with a lot of famous people, Justin Timberlake, Lady Gaga, I think BTS, folks like that. Hi, Cryptex. Nice to see you. I'm just talking about what we're going to be doing on the stream today. So he's a pretty well-known mastering or mixing engineer, and we've partnered with him recently. He's got a great Discord and stream presence. Definitely check him out. We've tagged his socials on our Instagram. And he's running a mixing contest, which is going to be closing. The deadline closes at March 1st, at noon on March 1st. Sorry, I can't talk today. It's Friday. Anyways, March 1st, deadline is noon Eastern time. And he's dropped the links. I've included the link to where he's dropped the stems for it. Hey, Silwai, nice to see you again. Glad to, you're from Australia or somewhere in the Southern Hemisphere, I assume. Glad to have you again. I recognize you. And glad you're enjoying the streams. So anyways, Ken Lewis is running this mixing contest. The grand prize, I believe, for the first place is going to be an LCD1 and Reveal Plus software, which is very cool. So definitely download the stems, check them out. And that's essentially what we'll be doing today. So we're going to be checking out this. I'm going to do, for an hour or two, we'll do a quick mix. And I'll talk about some tips, some tricks, some things that I would do if I were mixing this. Awesome. Yeah, what part of Australia? I've got actually a lot of friends there. Most of them live in Sydney, but some who are scattered elsewhere too. So anyways, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Check out our Instagram. We've also got it on Twitter and Facebook. The links are a little easier to follow there, perhaps, if you want to check out this mix contest and you want to participate. The weekend, obviously, great time to get your mix together. And we are going to be talking about exactly what I'm doing with the mix here. So essentially, I've got, this is Reaper, by the way, for anyone who either doesn't recognize it or doesn't use Reaper. My Reaper is very colorful, as you can see. But I've also mixed in Logic, in Pro Tools, all that sort of stuff. Oh, nice. Sydney's a super fun city. One of the coolest cities I've ever been in. Really lovely people, great time, great place to live. Really enjoyed going there. So super place. Glad to have you. Anyway, so as I was saying, I'm in Reaper, but Pro Tools, you can see I've got Pro Tools. It's down here somewhere. amongst all these programs that I have just too many. Anyways, whatever DAW you want to use, totally fine. This all kind of applies to all of them. So the first thing that I've noticed is that there are a ton of stems for this song. So typically I, as a producer and composer, try to, go with as few stems as possible, try to bounce things out as much as possible with, small chunks. However, for mixed contest and for a lot of mainstream music, people like to, break things down into these tiny little chunks here. So that's not unusual to see. Don't be surprised if you see that. I think there's something like 40 or 60. Well, I've got buses, so it's really like 48 stems or 50 stems maybe. And then I've got maybe a dozen buses or so. So anyways, the first thing I've done with all of this, I've got the original mix that Ken Lewis has done right here at the top. It's muted, right? So nice little trick is, hello, Stephanie Doherty. How are you doing today? So nice little trick that you can do is you can take the original, if you have an original, in this case we do, obviously if you're just mixing a song by yourself and you don't have a reference, then you don't. But one nice thing you can do for A/B comparisons is you can mute something in most DAWs. If you then press the solo button, it'll solo just that thing, so you can listen to just that, the rest of it, and this will automatically mute. Sorry, I totally tongue-tied today, guys. So that's kind of a nice trick. So anyways, we've got the original up here that Ken has done, which is finished. I believe it's even mastered. I think I checked the loudness and it's pretty loud. It's like -9, -10. Maybe close to -8. Sometimes isotope and dualism disagree with each other on exactly how loud things are. Anyways, and then you can see I've got all of my stems here. So what I've done, and you may notice this already if you're a Reaper user, but what I've done is I've actually adjusted all the volumes of all the tracks, and there's some really cool functions in Reaper. I think Logic might have these as well. Studio One might have them, where you can basically set custom loudness targets for normalization. So much like Sequoia, I can say I want to take just this clip, right, and I can turn it up or down or whatever. Now what I've done is I've gone through and I've normalized all of them to their peak RMS, roughly about 23 LUFS. This one will make things louder, but I've normalized them to about roughly their peak RMS, and then I've gone through and I've hand tweaked. You can see some of these knobs have been hand tweaked a little bit, things that were too loud. For example, these claps, we're going to compress them so they're not going to blast through our meters quite as much, but claps with a ton of quiet space, right, like this. And hey Gigabyte, how are you doing? Also, yeah, hi Rukajano, happy weekend to you as well. Hope you're doing well. Nice to see the regular crowd. Today we're doing a production live stream. And if you didn't quite catch it, Ken Lewis is holding a mixing competition. And the grand prize is going to be a pair of Odyssey headphones and Reveal Plus LCD ones. It's due on March 1st at noon Eastern Time, United States. Nice. Oh, awesome. Week-long vacation. Well, congrats. That's super cool. Glad to hear it. So claps like this, for example, will blast through our meters sometimes because it's a huge amount of energy and then not very much energy on either side of it. So it's not that we're actually necessarily going to hear them as super, super loud, but they will make our meters go red sometimes. So I've hand turned those down just a little bit from what, Reaper's normalization to peak RMS is. But as you can see, I've gone through, and this is all the boring stuff, right? I've just organized everything in tracks, put it all in buses, put it all in subfolders, then, organized it from top to bottom the way I'm going to mix it. And the way I'm going to mix it is essentially, and I like to work from top to bottom. So this kind of comes from my years in music school where I like to think about things sort of a little bit like this. Hold on, I'm going to show you guys something. Is NVIDIA, hold on. NVIDIA broadcast is not liking it thinks that's background. Hold on. Okay. Staff paper, right? So, actually I might just keep it like that way, if you guys don't mind seeing my incredibly messy room. So anyways, basically, actually it hides some of the track buses. So I'm going to turn it back on. There we go. Okay. So anyways, essentially what I've done is I've taken all of these, as I mentioned, I've normalized them, and then I've divided them into top to bottom buses. And much like the staff paper I just showed you, right? I've got the things that are kind of most important or most melodically interesting up at the top. Now, in traditional Western scores, you would have, the highest instruments at the top and the lowest instruments and the percussion down at the bottom. What I've done is a little bit different here. Now, most DAWs are arranged left to right and typically look kind of something actually a little bit like staff paper. What I've done here, though, is I've put the lead vocals up at the top because that's the most important thing for a pop song like this, right? Then under that, I've got the harmony vocals. Under that, I've got all the background vocals and the background vocals, which are hook background vocals. So this is chorus and this is hook. Then I've got the percussion, which is all the tambourine, claps, drum overheads. So I've separated the ambient part of the drum kit here with the drum room. It's a single mono mic, overheads. Excuse me. And then I've got from top to bottom, right, snare. Actually, snare top should be on top. There we go. Tom, and then kick finally down at the bottom. And I might even separate the kick out into its own thing. We'll see, depending on how we mix it. I haven't really touched this a ton yet. I've just done all the boring stuff. Bass guitar below that. Now I've got the other guitars, which I typically would put the bass guitar below those. But in this case, the bass guitar and the rhythm section to me are kind of a unit. So I like to have the bass guitar and the percussion next to each other. And then what I've got is electric guitar and then rhythm guitar. Electric guitar and then acoustic guitar, sorry. And then rhythm guitar below that. Yeah. And then there's like a little glockenspiel and toy piano thingy. Is this? Yeah. There we go. Okay. Actually, this should probably be another bus. Hold on. Forgot to make this. Glock only bus. Sometimes I don't know what to call things. And then this one's going to need a bus plug. That sounds a little dirty. Bus plug. Anyways. Okay. And I think I've done that right. Channel needs to be on top. Okay. So then I've got the glockenspiel, which has a little bit of a vibraphone and toy piano thing, and then just the glockenspiels mixed in. And then at the very bottom, I've got this acoustic piano thing. Now, I can't decide if I should. I might end up switching these around. I might end up putting the piano up with the guitars and stuff like that, because the glockenspiel stuff is really sort of the extra. So I'm going to do that, because that's really, this is extra tinkly stuff. And I generally put the stuff that I'm going to mix last, or that is the least sonically difficult to get right, down at the bottom, because it's the stuff that I worry about the least. I generally mix in from inward out, moving out, or top down. So in this case, right, the most important things to me are going to be these vocals and then the percussion and the bass guitar. Those are the things that are going to take the most work. Down at the bottom is going to be all this kind of extra stuff, right? The guitar and the bass we worry about a lot because those need to sound good. The piano is important because it plays through the whole song. The glockenspiel stuff, that's a little extra tinkly stuff. A little extra tinkly stuff is usually distinct enough that you're not too worried about mixing it first because it's going to sound good. Little high frequency kind of transient stuff like that generally will sound pretty good, pretty clear. You don't have to do a lot to it. If you overdo it, it's going to get crackly and distorted and edgy real quick. So you don't need to touch it too much. So first things first. Oh, thank you, K9. Yeah, I'm pretty big about organizing. I have to do big film soundtrack stuff sometimes. And whether composing or mixing it, organization is super important. So I'm always a big advocate of organization. Goes for also, your file folders, naming everything, right? You can see I've named everything really nice, right? LV, LV double, LV hook. That's all in the LV bus. Harm bus. This is the whole vocal bus. Actually, I should probably make a vocal bus. Well, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Percussion bus, right? Tambourine. Everything's named. Now, one thing I haven't done yet is I haven't gone through actually and panned everything. So I'm going to go through and make sure I've got everything panned. Collapse, overhead left and right. Electric guitar went into piano left, piano right. I think that's everything that needs to be panned specifically, or at least is labeled as needing to be panned. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a listen to the original. Let me know if this is too loud. This is according to, so Isotope and DMG disagree a little bit on exactly how loud this is, but I was doing a little testing before the stream, and it seemed like it might be peaking OBS's meters. So you guys just let me know if it's too loud. And actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this. Let's separate the let's separate out these two. I'm just putting the output of my DAW onto a separate output into OBS. Let me see if this works. Oh, that's not working. Okay, hold on. Oh, why is that also coming through there? Ah, I see. There we go. Okay. Now this should work.
3, 4.
You're my sunshine.
So yeah, it's it's pretty loud, uh, which is not not necessarily a bad thing, but depending on whether I'm asking DMG or isotope, it's about -8 to -7, somewhere in there, maybe even a little hotter than that. Now, what I did notice, one thing that was interesting, you can see this on the waveform as well, especially if I blow it up here, right? We've still got grass. And what I mean by grass is little bits of stuff, right? Little differences in the waveform, right? It's not totally, I mean, it is squashed. It's loud. You can see it's very loud. But it's not, he hasn't chopped off all this nice detail, right? So it's pretty loud and it's pretty banging, but it doesn't sound like distorted or chopped up. I mean, it does a little bit, but that's not, a little bit of that is okay. We do want it to be loud. We do want it to be loud, because sounding loud is perceptually, sounds perceptually better to most people in a double blind test. If there's something that's just a half a dB louder or even a dB louder, people will almost always pick the one that's louder just because it sounds better. Fletcher, Munson curves, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, let's take a listen now just to what we've got. Basic, overheads and left-right piano mics have been panned. Nothing else has been panned. Everything is basically normalized to whatever it would be at its, at a relatively similar volume. So there's really not a lot of volume leveling going on. And then I'm actually going to turn all of these off. Sorry, I forgot to turn off the master bus. I just have a clipper on the master bus to help catch any overs. I'll add a dither plugin, but I'll do that in a second. Anyways, let me just. Okay. So yeah, we're just going to take a quick listen. I've turned all effects, everything's off. The only thing I actually had put on here was a console 7, which is just a console emulation that helps with internal routing and things like that. So let's take a quick listen.
You're the pond, I'm the alligator, and I'm diving into you and you're the sharpener when life gets tough. You're the machine and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on you like a trampoline. I don't need gasoline 'cause you keep me running clean, and you're so smooth like Vaseline. You're so sweet like a tangerine. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. Tangerine. Pressed into paper, I can save you there for later. You're the
All right, I think that's pretty good. Hopefully that's not, like, OBS doesn't like that level, so I can always turn it down. You guys let me know if it sounds bad. I mean, it's definitely loud, but shouldn't be distorting, hopefully. So anyways, I'm going to turn on my master bus clipper and turn on my plugins. This is just my internal routing. And I love Air Windows plugins. I know they're weird. A lot of people are like, these are too strange. I can get really good sounds out of them that I don't get out of anything else, so I use them. That's just me. They make your mixing life a little weirder, but they have some cool sounds that I don't hear anywhere else. So first things first, The vocals need to be more up front, but you might be inclined to turn a bunch of stuff down. And the first thing I'm actually going to do is not turn anything down, but actually, I think just restore the lead vox to
Diving into you and you're the carpenter who built.
yeah. So just restore the lead vox to its original level, to get it up a little bit. And then this is really distracting. So what I'm going to do is work on this Glock bus real quick, because there's some panning going on here that I don't have in mind that he has in his. And what would it sound like if we... So why are these different? Just make sure, yeah, that was just a copy. Okay. So what would happen if we were to also pan these? Okay. Interesting. I think what would be cool to do with these is actually yeah, I guess we could do it with these ones too. Oops. So this is a technique that people use on vocals a lot that I like to use on instruments as well. And you're basically creating a small amount of delay manually. Now you can do this also with a plugin, but you don't have as much control over how much you get. You can do it with a delay plugin. I just think it sounds better this way. And like I said, you have more fine control over exactly how much sound or how much separation in the sound you get out of it. So what you do is you pan things left and right, which I've all labeled. And then that obviously just gives you wider sound, right? So now what I do is I'm going to take all the right channels, group them together, and just turn off that. Move them back a little bit. And we don't actually need so much delay on it. We just need a little to cause a perceptual separation so that you hear it as if it's coming straight out of both channels. And that makes it sound like ultra wide, which is kind of cool, but might be too wide.
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator.
don't think he panned them all the way, actually. I think he only panned them part way. But I'm going to pan them all the way because I think it's cool and I think it sounds extra wide. And the other thing that I noticed, which is kind of cool, is even though the piano is playing through the whole song, there's a big hole here in everything except the piano and the percussion. And that's where the voice fits in on the verses. So it's okay to have everything maximally wide. We might end up bringing this in just a teeny tiny bit because it might be too wide. It might take up space where the guitars are. But I don't know. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. I like that. I think it sounds cool. If you all hate it, whatever. That's the way I'm doing it. Next thing is some of these piano parts aren't. Let's find out what these are. I just want to know what these are. Huh. It's actually slightly to the right in the soundstage. So what I'm going to do is actually pan it. Say 65% right. There we go. Tightens the piano image up a little bit. So these actually belong with, they actually belong here. I'm going to keep them the same color though, because they are piano, so they're going to need to sound like they fit with the, stop calling me. Sorry, spam callers. Because they are still technically pianos, and I need to make sure that I match the sound so it's not too crazy different. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pan them similarly, or maybe here's what I'll do. I'm just going to pan them similarly to how we had the other ones with the ultra wide thing. But in this case, what we're going to do is, I'm sorry, I did that wrong, is actually, no, stop. Okay, I want the pan button. There we go. What I'm going to do, and label them. Always make sure you label stuff. It's the most tedious part of the job, but also the most important, is I'm actually going to have them be mostly on the right-hand side. Actually, what we could do is we could have it be mirrored. I do like to have my soundstage equal on both sides, so that's just a me thing. And what happens if we, and we'll try and line that up actually with these so that it's relatively in time.
You're my sunshine, Lord.
we're doing is just channel and bus. Thank you. Make sure they're in the right place. And I don't know if you guys can, you guys can't see this, but on my other screen, here's what my other screen looks like. So I've got all of my tracks labeled, separated. This clapping bus is clipping, I know. And I've got all my stuff here. This is backwards. So anyways, been working down here, but you can see all of the tracks. So that's what my other screen looks like. So what I've just done there, for anyone who is maybe confused at all about what I've done there, is I just split out the acoustic piano rhythm stuff into its own bus. This needs a bus. Let me just make sure I did that right. Console 7 bus, console 7, no. I always get confused about which order the channels are in. I don't know why. I never used to get confused about it, and I'm 25 now. Got old. Old. Ugh, get off my lawn. Where are my cats? Need to drink my Mylanta. That's really mean. I shouldn't say that stuff. Anyways. So yeah, I just split out the piano bus. Get rid of this because that's extra. And the piano bus, they called it Piano Extra, which is basically the glockenspiel toy piano vibraphone line, but played on the piano. And I've made sure to match up my delay, my manually done delay, relatively close to what they have done, except it's panned a little bit to the right. I actually like it on the left-hand side better. The soundstage is more balanced. It's pop music. I can't say it's necessarily the most fascinating thing I've worked on, but hey, they're giving away Odyssey headphones, so I figured I would take a look at it and see, what's going on with it. So, yeah. Anyways. I actually don't know. This is, I assume that whoever it is has agreed to do this because they've dropped the stems into a public folder for the mix contest. FYI, Savitar, this is for a mix contest which has gone live just recently. You can find the info on Odyssey's Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Prize is a pair of Odyssey headphones and our official plugin. Deadline is March 1st at noon EST. So just a heads up in case you haven't seen that before. What I'm doing is just kind of doing a rough mix of this just to take a look at it. And also, as usual for a regular crowd and for anyone who is new, please feel free to ask questions about Odyssey, about what I'm doing. Do my best to talk about what I'm doing. But yeah, feel free to discuss, engage. Okay, I like that. Now let's take a listen to our guitars and see what we're getting. kind of fun. I think what I'm going to do is actually similar to last time. This is, now the reason I do this a lot is because, I like to have a soundstage which is relatively symmetrical. It's just a personal thing. With pop music, not with orchestral music necessarily, or with musics which are more spacious, video game music, things like that. I don't think it matters as much. But with music like pop music, I find that if you're listening on headphones, one of the most annoying things, which a lot of pop music is listened to on headphones nowadays, let's be realistic, or in a car, right? If you have something which is hard panned left or right and doesn't have any information in the other channels or any bleed through, it tends to sound disconnected. And we don't want it to sound disconnected. We don't want it to sound uneven or lopsided. And there's a lot of ways to accomplish this, because you still want to have good instrument separation. So one thing we can do is take Goodhertz Pan Pot. And I love this plugin. I think it's like one of the greatest plugins ever. It's super great. And turn up delay and spectral as well as level. I'm going to do phase at like 35. And then we're just going to simply copy. Actually, this should be before channel. We're just going to simply copy this to all of the channels we're working with here with the acoustic guitar. And this plugin is really cool because it allows you to do panning, which is not just level bass. A lot of people only ever do level bass panning. Now, the advantage, I'm going to turn my buffer up just a little bit because my computer can probably handle it, but my interface might be choking a little bit with all these plugins. Let's just check. Let's see. CPU, 20, what percent? What's using up so much? I guess just a little bit of everything, huh? It's a little higher than it usually is. We can, we're just mixing, so there's no reason we can't just set it to the absolute highest setting. Let's see what that does. I don't know why it's spiking CPU so much. Oh well. Anyways, so then what I'm going to do with Panpot. Uh-oh. Okay, stand by, folks. Waiting on DAW. There we go. Oh, whoa, what happened there? I don't know why we've got double of everything all of a sudden. What is happening? Okay, there we go. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. So then what we can do is we can take Panpot. Please load. What the heck? What is going on? Why is it lagging so much? And we can say this one is left. Say this one. This one is right. This one is left. Left. And I don't really see why it should be spiking so much. Oh. Guess we can close some other applications. Anyways. And I think this one. Okay, this one should be right. Oh dear. Things are going a little haywire now. Not sure why. Lowered the buffer a bit, so that should help. Left. Right. Left. Right. And then what we're going to do is, much like our other one, group these. Offset them just a tiny bit. That's not right at all. What on earth? Oh, I see. I've got to actually not group those two, but group these inner two. Okay, why are you farting out at me? Let's try that. Oh, brother. What did I do? I don't know what I did. Oh, dear. No, but let's try. Not sure why that happened. It's rather strange. Sorry about that, folks. Shouldn't have any crashing issues. Not really sure why that happened. We have an AMD 3900 series CPU, 256 gig of RAM, fast RAM, RME, Fireface unit with tons of I/O. So we should be okay. Let me listen. Let me just try and get this back up and running real quick. It's possible. It's possible that it didn't like all the upsampling it was being asked to do. Okay. Seems to be more or less working now. We'll just set it to the highest buffer size just in case. And you guys should okay. Weird. 11 and 12. There we go. Well, it's strange because none of the plugins I've asked it to use are particularly intensive in terms of like playback So I'm not really sure why it was crapping out on me there. Anyways, let us resume our okay, hold on. Now OBS is talking back to me and I don't know why. Fun with DAWs. Y'all know how it is. Okay. OBS for some reason doesn't want to play back the correct audio. There we go. So what we want to do is we want to take these two middle ones and space them out a little bit. 2019. Ugh, that's crazy. It's not a problem of the hardware. It's not really a problem. Yeah, it's not really a problem of the hardware so much as it is a problem of the just the software coding is often left is left, right is right. Okay, all is well in the world. Oh, these are all mixed up. There we go. That's the one we want. So in that case, I've got two rights, and that's why it doesn't sound like it's doing the right thing that I want it to do. Fun with technology, as usual. There we go. Okay. Now this should be doing what we want it to be doing. That's right. So this one needs to be left. We got it. Woo! Now, interestingly enough, these don't sound as wide to me. We're just going to save real quick, just in case it crashes again. These don't sound as wide to me as the Glock do. They actually could come in just a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like negative 75 maybe on all of these. Now I wish there was a way to control multiple plugins inside of effects a little bit easier on Reaper. Unfortunately, there isn't a great way of doing this. You can do it actually. I lied. There is a way of doing it. It's not necessarily the fastest way, and it takes a little bit of manual routing. It's quite cool, though. This is another reason I'm a big Reaper fan. This is a cool thing you can do in Reaper. So I can take these good hertz that I've been doing, right? And I can say that I want, not that. I can say I want to show, not that. Show effects parameters in panel. So I can show the master pan right in the panel. Oh, have I not got it enabled? Well, there's some way to, maybe I haven't got the thing set up. You can do a thing where you basically show these track routing window. No, that's not what I want. I thought it was in show. No. I'm not remembering how to do it at the moment, but you can basically show the effects parameters in this panel. So you can adjust all the parameters down here instead of having a send thingy down here. I don't know why it's not showing up at the moment. Reaper did just update recently, so they may have moved it. Well, I'll check it out more later, but basically you can do that. It's not necessarily faster unless you're, you like working with those Pro Tools style mix windows as much. I tend to actually not work with them. I work with the plugins inside the folders more, like on the tracks. That's why I have it set up here, and I don't have the mixer window down the bottom because I just find it distracting. But you can do that. It is cool. It's a little, it can speed up your process if you're into that kind of thing. I'm so mouse and keyboard heavy that it's like I end up not using it as much. But okay, so now one of the things that is also happening is we've got our tracks doubled. So we've also doubled the loudness of them. So what we need to do is we need to pull back the level on the bus. And the way we're going to do this might seem a little bit strange, but there is a method to the madness. This was done on a whole Glock bus, so actually we're going to do this on the whole Glock bus, and that is going to be bit shift gain. This is a bit shift utility that Air Windows has, which shifts bits entirely and doesn't have to rewrite the word length of the audio, and so you don't lose resolution, but it only has 1 bit is 6 dB, right? So it can only have or double audio. It can only have or double the audio's loudness. We haven't done it for that one, so we're just going to put it on the piano extra bus at -1 or -6 dB. And this one also doesn't need to be as loud as it is, so we're just going to pull back 6 dB on that. So you know it's a lot more balanced. The percussion is really unbalanced at the moment. Let's see if the other guitars need too much work. So yeah, and chaotic, this may seem insane. The way I'm mixing might seem like totally crazy. It's very unconventional, but the end result, it will be very good. Trust me on that one. This is it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be really good. So the one thing I noticed, and I think a lot about Soundstage, as you've probably noticed, have doubled these, but I don't know if they actually need to be doubled. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually just gonna, I'm not gonna do any fancy panning. Just going to, ooh. Just gonna group these. Just gonna take them back. Probably less than that even. Maybe about there, because I want them to sound wide. So when you pan directly, it's going to sound wider, but it's also going to sound fuzzier, right? It's not going to sound as precise. What Goodhertz does, and it's really cool, and there's a tab where you can mess around with some very specific things, is delay and spectral energy are the most lifelike, and they will make things sound much more pinpoint accurate, which is great for these real shiny, strummy, transient filled attacks. But for these, which are kind of honestly kind of crappy sounding grungy guitars that are just supposed to add some vibe and some tone to the other guitar parts that are going on, I don't need them to sound super hi-fi and super accurate. So what I actually want them to do is I want them to sound wider and fuzzier. I want to add some space. So I'm just going to have them basically do that same delay pan that I did before. No fancy Goodhertz, no hi-fi-ness here. And just pull them back a little bit. And basically just, I need to label them, of course, always label. Sorry, the crashing issue, well, it didn't crash, but the freezing issue threw me for a turn. Left, right. Okay, cool. And now we've got... Right, so now we can listen to...
Hey.
And, you know, there are some people who opine that in pop music, you should never have to pan anything other than hard left, right. I don't necessarily subscribe to that view. I think that's a little bit, there's very little that I would say never do. Now something that is cool that we could do to add some movement, I think I'm going to do the same thing to this guitar bus. I'm going to do that same thing that I just did up there, because this one is also kind of fuzzy, right? Wow, okay, that's bright. All right, didn't realize it was clipping. This can probably come down a little bit. Make it 3D. Well, the thing about it is, it's not, so you'll notice that the way that I'm using panning is almost as a replacement for leveling everything. A lot of people will go through and level everything in mono, and then they pan everything. But the problem with that is that your stereo image gets disrupted, right? I would rather directly manipulate things to put them in the soundstage horizontally, where I want them, and then put things in the soundstage depth-wise, right? Putting the reverb through. And that way, if I've made everything relatively a similar RMS and LUFS, right, exactly, you've got to paint a picture. If I've made everything relatively a similar LUFS or a similar RMS, then I'm working with a mix, which is much more glued together before I start applying any sort of reverb or doing fine level trim to get things really detailed. Because instead of treating the waveforms purely based on their perceptual loudness, I'm doing it in a little bit more, I don't want to say it's scientific, but I'm doing it in a little bit more loudness accurate way, right? I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I haven't touched my volume knob, except to turn it down when it was making horrible noises. I haven't touched my volume knob at all. So that's actually a big advantage of this too, is it allows you to basically hear things in the way that a mastering engineer would hear. I'm going to put him in between, actually. Let's just take a quick listen. make it a little more spacey, I think. Even vibe it up a little more. That's a lot. That might be a little too much. Maybe like there. And then we're going to bring it down because it's really, really bright. And probably slap a one corner clip on it. This is just a simple safety clipper. I have a preset, which is basically 0 input. The more input, the more you slam it into the clipper. Yeah, panning first to set the stage works great. And it also allows you more headroom within your mix, because if you think about the mix stage, right, almost no mastering engineer is thinking about left and right. They're thinking about mid and side, right? And I think a lot about mid side versus dual mono, because you can really manipulate how much bandwidth and headroom you get. With a mid-side mix, you are essentially making, I don't want to say more effective use, but you are making, in some ways, more effective use of the amount of headroom that you get. Because a lot of all the vocals and all that percussion, all the bass, all the low stuff is all going to be in the middle. It's using up lots of headroom. All the tinkly stuff that doesn't use up a lot of headroom is going to be in the side channels. But how can I pan things to use up some of that bandwidth and some of that headroom? It will, one, make mixes wider and bigger sounding, which is always great. It means you have to get things less loud and sacrifice less of the musical transient peaks to get perceptual punchiness. But you can push things louder with less destruction to the mix, right? You can push things perceptually louder with less destruction to the mix. So that's a big benefit of it. And then the other benefit of it is that it allows you greater flexibility in terms of making the soundstage symmetrical. And again, that's a thing that I really believe in terms of pop mixes. If you're doing something where it's moving across the soundstage in an asymmetrical way, that's okay. Like the Beatles, where the beginning of Back in the USSR moves from left to right channel, like right, that airplane sound. That's fine if it's dynamic elements, but for static elements like guitars, pianos that are just playing 4/4 repetitive ostinato type things, I would much rather have those be relatively symmetrical, not perfectly symmetrical, but relatively symmetrical, because it just bugs me less on headphones. Like on headphones, that just is a thing that bugs me. If it's like some weird thing popping out way in the left channel, and you have to hear it over and over again, it's like, oh, why is it in the left channel? Why is it unbalanced, right? So I don't do that for like more like game music or compositions for film or things like that, or my personal music as much, but like for pop oriented music, or if my personal music is pop oriented, I'm very obsessive about getting things symmetrical or at least inverted across channels. So that's just the thing I like to do. I think it sounds better. I think it opens up the mix. I think it offers more headroom, that sort of stuff. This clipper, -0.1 with the voicing set almost all the way up, just to get a little bit of that bass around. You can read about what it does on their Windows website. It's a really good clipper. It's the only clipper I use. But is that? I just feel like that's really distorting something. How loud is that? It's not that loud. It might just be distorted. I'm going to turn this down a little bit though. Maybe like a +6. Sounds better. It's still a little gritty. I think that's fine. I think it's just part of the recording. Save progress. Always be sure to save your progress. I know the DAW auto saves, but I like to save on top of that as well.
You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator, and I'm diving into you. And you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets dull.
So you can hear how much the vocals opened up on that take, right? And we haven't touched, to be fair, we've only touched the guitars. We've panned the piano a little bit. We haven't just the basic piano riff. We've only just barely panned it. Then the piano extra stuff, we've done our little fancy panning trick on. And then this is just panned left and right. So all we've done is panning and a little bit of level adjustment here and there. We haven't even touched the drums. But listen again to how open the voice sounds.
Hey, hey.
mean, the voice sounds much, much better, much more open. And that's the power. That canine is, and yes, asymmetry is good at times, but it has to be used in the right way. It's a thing that I use sparsely. Now, something that actually I think would be really cool is to use Energy Panner from Sound Particles on the piano and the rhythmic elements. And what Energy Panner does is it makes the element pan harder the more energy there is. That might be something we'll play around with. We have about 40 more minutes. So I'm going to try it on the piano. Well, what's on this extra piano bus? I'm going to do it on the actual overall piano bus. Let's see what happens. This might be a terrible disaster. I don't know why there's a good Hertz pan plug on there. Energy Panner. This is a really, really cool plugin that I really like. We want to start in the middle and go towards the sides. So that's kind of a cool thing. It adds a little movement.
To you.
I'm actually going to add the extra. I knew I was going to do this. I'm going to add the extra piano bus to the Glock thing because I don't want it to have that. Actually, no, I take that back because I do want it to have it.
You're my sunshine locator, alligator, and I'm diving into you.
I might not keep that, but I think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool to have it moving around in the song because it's got this like carnival-y festival. It's like a Ferris wheel. It's like or teacups or something. You know, it's got this carnival sort of sound to it, this music box sound to it, and I kind of like that element of movement.
You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator. I'm diving into you, and you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets tough. You're my love machine, and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on you like a trampoline. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator, and I'm diving into you, and you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets tough. You're my love machine, and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on you like a trampoline. I don't need gasoline, 'cause you keep me running clean, and you're so smooth like Vaseline.
Yeah, so that's a little low. We'll turn some other things down later, but I like this idea of having this piano riff I don't need the Glock riff to be moving around like that, but I like the idea of having the piano riff that emulates the Glock riff and the little repeated piano riff kind of just like every once in a while it pops out of a slightly different place in the soundstage, but it retains the fuzziness. Because this song is kind of circular. These lyrics are absolutely ridiculous. I love them. They're so silly. Let's work on the, since we don't have a ton of time left, let's work on the percussion bus, because I have some cool percussion tips that I think you guys are going to freak out about. One secret percussion tip that everybody hates. One drum kit tip. Everyone drives people crazy. Anyways, let's just hear what's going on with the kit. Wow, that kick sounds like it's sort of like somebody hitting a cardboard box with like a wet sack of fish. It's not that bad, but it's definitely, I like kicks that are like slamming, punchy, slamming. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this bass, and I like a lot of bass. I mean, I like a lot of bass. Maybe some of you don't, but I like a lot of bass. I like a lot of bass. I like a lot of bass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some subsynth and get some more bass. Yeah, why not? Mono maker. All the way. Stereo with 0. We don't need this to be. Yeah. I like fat bass. We want it clean.
Sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator, and I'm diving into you. And you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets dull. You're my love machine, and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on you like a trampoline. I don't need gasoline, 'cause you keep me running clean. And you're so smooth like Vaseline. You're so sweet like a tangerine. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my press.
Yeah. I like an enormous amount of bass. I just like a huge amount of bass. Now, the interesting thing about that is I don't think it sounds unbalanced in the context of this mix. And as many people know, Odyssey headphones have, really a pretty darn decent amount of bass and a pretty darn decent quality of bass. To me, what I'm aiming for, AirPod Pro Max are sounding thick right now. Yes, that's what we want. Those have a little bit of boosted bass, but hopefully not too thick, because I think it still fits in the mix, right? This, you're like, whoa, that is, it's not farty, but it's like, it's pretty hefty. It's big boy bass, you know? Nothing's high passed. There's no high passed. I don't do that. We don't really do that here a lot. Sometimes it needs to be tighter, but I don't think it needs to be tighter, because if you listen, it's still good quality bass. It fits in the mix. It makes everything sound a little warmer.
You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine.
So we'll come back and we might automate the compressor or the sub synth on that. We might end up taking a little bit off. Might be a lot. But for now, I like it. I like fat bass. Because the thing that's going to counterbalance that fat bass is going to be the kick. And here is a cool thing we're going to do with the kick. Let's just solo this. Yeah. It is a little fast.
So smooth like Vaseline. You're so sweet like a tangerine. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing.
Here's what we can do also. We can put some soothe on it. Love this plugin. It's just great. Everybody says it's great. Everybody loves it. It's great. Bass. We don't really need to demud it. Maybe melodic bass control.
So smooth like Vaseline. You're so sweet like a tangerine. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. Your flower pressed into paper. I can so smooth like Vaseline. You're so sweet like a tangerine. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. You're the sweet.
So the way I like to hear my bass is kind of like that, where it's just poking through on the hottest moments of the chorus or the hottest moments of a verse or a hook. You're just hearing the bass sound as if it's pressurizing a room, that boom, that big bow resonant sound of the bass. So I like the bass to poke out a little bit just to make itself known, because I think it sounds good. I like bass. Everybody likes bass. It always sounds good. When I don't want the bass to be all the time huge. That's why Billie Eilish, for example, works the way it does. It'll be like kind of slightly. It's not a 80 hertz kick. It's more like a 70 or 65 hertz kick. It's a little lower than a normal kick. Boom, boom, boom. Right, but it's got space between it, and that's why it works, and that's why they can have the bass, which is super low, is lower than the kick, even though the kick's a little lower than a normal kick.
So smooth like Vaseline. You're so sweet like.
And the bass that I have right now with the correction on the Odyssey headphones from Reveal is pretty flat. So if the bass is sounding a little hot on my system, then it should sound about right on everyone else's system. Because I like a little bit more than average bass. So yeah, Bob Ross, nice. Hello, Next URL. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the kick and we're going to make the kick sound awesome. And here's how we're gonna do it. There's this crazy little compressor. Now you can do this. You can do this with Compassion or any normal compressor, right? In Compassion, no, I didn't want pop. I wanted Compassion, DMG. There we go. Right. So if you had an normal compressor like Compassion or something like that, what you would want to do is you'd take it, you'd parallel things, you'd add a transient shaper, blast the attack up, like squash it with like a 2 to 4 ratio, like 2.5 to 3, somewhere in there. And then you would open up the front of the attack and let the attack explode out and then smash down on the release. And what this compressor does is it acts like a mini limiter from Allen and Heath, which is an old, wacky little... kind of also a little wimpy, isn't it? Needs some also subsynth.
So smooth like hey, 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 yeah. You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the...
Yeah, so it's nice and fat, and I like the kicks. I like the kicks to be pretty fat too. And we'll go back, and what we're going to do with EQ is I might apply some dynamic EQ. I might sidechain them to each other in multiplicity and have them ducking each other out, which is a pretty, crude way of doing it. It's a bit heavy-handed, but I could do that. I could also take equilibrium and scoop out the frequency where the kick is resonant and scoop out the frequency where the bass is resonant, so they're not fighting each other as much. Let's see if we can... Why don't we just do that? Or see if that's something we can...
My sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator, and I'm diving into you. And you're the carpenter who
So that's a bit... It's got those two distinct frequencies going on now. And that's a little more carved out. We might even not need this because we've put soothe on it already, but I'm going to check out what's going on with the bass as well. Actually, I take that back. We're going to use a 550 stop. So now you get something which is much more subtle than a side chain, which you have to tweak quite a bit to not sound really obvious and real choppy. You could gate the kick too, right? We could gate the kick, but again, that's a... I mean, we can try gating the kick and see what we get. But this is a nice way to get things to glue a little bit because I like the bleed between microphones. They're already monoed. If they weren't monoed, I would mono them. But I always think that's kind of a nice...
my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator, and I'm diving into you. And you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets tough.
Nice. So yeah, I'm going to take that one and apply it to also the rest of the drum bus, because it's just such a good freaking compressor that I just love it.
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator, and I'm diving into you. And you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets tough. You're my love machine, and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on you like a trampoline. I don't need gasoline, 'cause you keep me running clean.
So that's pretty, yeah, again, as was mentioned, pretty beefy. I think we'll come back and tweak that more. Let me listen to what this bus sounds like just by itself. So that's going to need a lot of work, but one thing we can do now, just to get this all to sound a little bit better, is some verb. Warm chamber. Let's try this one.
You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. Your flower pressed into paper. I can save.
Might still be a little too fat. For the choruses, it's fine, but for the verses.
I can save you there for later. You're the salt, I'm the pepper shaker, and I'm shaken by your love, and you're the architect of my design. You're the market sector of good vibes. You're my love machine, and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on you like a trampoline. I don't need gasoline, 'cause you keep me running clean, and you're so smooth.
Actually, what it needs is not to be quieter, but is to be... just a little less of that. And then this one I think actually could even use slightly less.
I can save you there for later. You're I can save you there for later. You're the salt, I'm the pepper shaker, and I'm shaken by your love, and you're the architect of my design. You're the market sector of good vibes. You're my love machine, and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on you like a trampoline. I don't need gasoline, 'cause you keep me running clean, and you're so smooth like Vaseline. You're so sweet like a tangerine. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine.
So we're getting to the end of the stream. Another thing I'm going to show you guys, which I just want to show you, this isn't the order I would normally do it in. I would normally be, I guess I'm working from the bottom up, which is fine. just a different way to do things. But one thing I would do is this, which is quite cool. It's putting a reverb on the master bus. Now, a lot of people have done this, and a lot of people talk about this, mixing it just a little bit as a glue. I really like the Cinematic Room's transparent setting. And when you put a reverb across a whole mix, it glues things together in a sonic space, in a sound stage. Much more than if you had done, say, a master bus compressor. I mean, the compressor helps dynamically, right? But this glues things together in a sound space, in a sound stage. And I find that effect extremely pleasing. And you can put in quite a bit more before it starts to get bothersome. So let's just take a quick listen to what that sounds like.
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator. And I'm diving into you. And you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets tough. You're my love machine and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on you like a trampoline. I don't need gasoline 'cause you keep me running clean. And you're so smooth like Vaseline. You're so sweet like a tangerine. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. You're the sweetest thing. You're my tangerine. You're flower pressed into paper. I can save you there for later.
So I don't know if you heard what happened there, but I boosted the side channels. Did I boost the side channels? Yeah, I boosted the side channels at 400 after a small, it's a pretty tight ambience, small mid-range boost. But listen to how clear the vocals are after doing that. So this is with it off. Oh yeah, Chaotic Canine. I get a lot of the work I get in the film and the game industry mixing is because people are like, how did you make things sound so amazingly wide and huge and spatial? Which obviously I like to do stuff with spatial stuff, and I have all sorts of energy panner and good hertz and all that. I like to do all the spatial stuff. But people are like, how did you get stuff to sound so huge and so epic and so like spacious and big but still clean? And this is one of my secrets, is reverb on the master bus along with some specific EQ choices. So I almost always mono the bass. Even on big orchestral soundtracks, I'll do some amount of bass monoing to get things perceptually tighter, or I'll layer a mono bass on top of a stereo bass. But listen to the voice, especially without this on.
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator. And I'm diving into you. And you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets tough. You're my love machine and I'm a jumping bean.
Yeah, so you can hear the voices both clearer and more focused at the same time. You can also do another cool thing, which is where you can take the mid and then cut it at that frequency, cut it at 400 with, I think we used a 250 slope, and cut it a little bit at 400 and then boost a tad bit at that 2K great vocal frequency we're getting, because the voice needs to be turned up a little bit, but the voice will sound both deeper and more spacious. So it will sound more focused but deeper, which seems contradictory. It will sound sort of more upfront. There are some spatial cues actually that give us the concept that the vocal is upfront and really close. And we need some of those, because if you have the vocal totally dry and right up on the mic, it actually starts to sound less realistic.
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator. And I'm diving into you.
obviously, I think the 2K boost is a little harsh there. You'd need to work on the vocal itself, but from a master bus perspective, I'm a huge fan of doing all sorts of cool stuff with the master bus. So that's something you can try. That 400 hertz, and then if you noticed also, so our ears around 150 or 200, that 400 to 200 range, 400 to 150 range really, is where our ears start to overlap using timing and phasing information. And then below that, they use only phase. Above that, they use time and phase information up to about 1600. And then above that, they use only timing information. So, I think I have that right. So it's important to understand how to manipulate 200, 400, and then that 1600. I'm going to move this down to 1600. Like
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator. And I'm diving into you, and you're the...
Yeah, much clearer, right?
You're my rainbow calculator.
And I've gotten the vocals to be that clear without having to slap a massive reverb on them like that.
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator.
That reverb to me is pretty good, but does sound a little woofy in the low mids. A little too much there. Just my personal taste. I like things to be a little more hi-fi, a little more clean, very crystal clear, but not edgy. So that's something that I would try is EQing those sessions very carefully, right, with just the mid. And these mid-side EQs are super flexible, super good for manipulating the spatiality of a mix, right? I could also do a thing where I take basically, I high-pass the whole mix only on the side channel and just mono the entire darn thing.
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator. And I'm diving.
And that makes things real tight. I don't think for this mix it needs to be that much. I think the bass is already pretty punchy for this mix. But just maxed out everything. Longest impulse padding, rectangular window. This doesn't matter when you set it rectangular. FIR, analog. And it makes it sound better. It's a subtle thing, but it does make it sound better. I use Unisum for the master, and that's really good for that. So this is, this style of mixing, it's a little bit different, but I'm looking really at the spatiality of the mix. I'm treating things less is more is kind of my take. Rather than piling tons and tons of plugins on things, I'm doing less. I'm doing more with less. So this is something that I think can benefit a lot of people is especially if you have relatively good sounding audio that's all been acoustically recorded like this. You don't need to touch it that much. It sounds good. It already sounds good. And the main thing is just getting it to just fleshing it out a bit more, right? Filling in things that need to be filled in rather than cutting problem things. There's not too much problem stuff that needs to be cut here, which is nice. They're good stems to work with. But in this style of mixing, rather than one thing making a huge difference, like if I were to apply, heavy compression on the drums or something, and all of a sudden the drums explode and are massive sounding, that's cool. But now I have to do that much processing to all the mix to make it sound similarly big and dynamic and dramatic. And so if I'm doing a little bit of all these small things that at first you go, that sounds kind of weird, and I'm just tweaking them a little bit, and then going through my second and third pass and just tweaking things, I have to do a lot less big changes. There's a lot less decision making that has to go on, and the mix very quickly gets to a space where it sounds pretty darn good.
You're my rainbow calculator. You're my sunshine locator. You're the pond, I'm the alligator. And I'm diving into you. And you're the carpenter who builds my love. You're the sharpener when life gets tough. You're my love machine and I'm a jumping bean. I'm on.
The vocal definitely needs automation and compression. But we are coming to the end of our stream time here. It's been 2 hours, longer than we usually do. We haven't touched any of the vocals. So vocal production is a whole nother thing. We haven't even touched any of the vocals. I've got a lot of cool secrets for that. If you guys are interested, what I can do is I can continue mixing this next week. I know the mix competition ends on Friday, or on Monday, Monday the 1st of March. But I can keep mixing this until we get it to a place that's kind of interesting, at least for another session or two of streams. And I think another session of mixing, I could get it to a rough place where it sounded decent. So that might be fun. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. We really haven't touched the percussion that much. We worked on the kick. We slapped a compressor on the, on all the close mics, but that's it. Hopefully this was interesting. And as I mentioned, we'll be doing more of these production streams on Fridays at 3 p.m. PST. I'm headed out for now, but hopefully all of you guys have a fantastic weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you're interested in participating in the mix competition, definitely check out the stems and try them out. Also, I will, when this video gets processed and put up on YouTube and Twitch, I will go back, or at least on YouTube, I will go back and put the links for the Air Windows plugins. It's airwindows.com. But Chris J, who runs it, is a super humble, awesome, very open source, internet-y kind of guy. He gives away all his plugins for free. They're awesome. They're a little hard to use when you first open them up. They're a little intimidating, but they sound phenomenal. And they're free. Can't be free, right? So, that's it. Hope you all have a nice weekend, and stay on the lookout for more. We'll be doing more making music and talking about, alternate kinds of music, not just kind of pop music stuff like this, but also game music, film music, things like that. So stay tuned. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend.